How's it going, everybody? So today I want to show you guys how to stop the plant every single time the enemy goes to the A site on every single map. But before we get into that, I want to thank today's sponsor, CLOUT FANTASY. So CLOUT is a fantasy esports app where you can compete for cash prizes and rewards all while watching your favorite tournaments. Free and paid contests for all the major tournaments in CS such as Blast, IEM, and ESL are live on their mobile and web app. And all you have to do to start competing is to choose a game mode, pick the event you want to enter, and compete against others by answering a few questions correctly. And every single new user will earn a $5 sign-up bonus and up to $100 in match deposit when using my code CS2TCT or following the link in the description. That means you can start playing their paid contests for free and double your cash and your fun. Thanks again to CLOUT for sponsoring today's video. Links in the description. So starting off with Anubis here, whenever the T's are planting here on site, typically they're going to either hide behind this pillar from heaven, or they're going to hide over here from camera, whichever one they feel more safe behind, right? So if you're ever stuck behind this area, maybe you've been smoked off heaven or mollied back into this position, instead of just waiting for your team, you can actually line up with this position right here. And don't worry, as you can see, I've just placed a bot here. It's very difficult for the T's to be able to see you. They may be able to catch a glimpse of you through this little crack, so keep that in mind, but it takes them a while to get to where they can actually peek and damage you. So you do have a little bit of a warning. It is not too dangerous of a position to line up in. So you go right here into this position. And whenever you hear them plant, you can just do a simple left click throw right to where this leaf kind of intersects with this edge here of the wall, or of the ceiling rather. You just left click, that molly is going to pop straight down, should hit and spread all the way around, pretty much hitting both of those default planting positions. A really good one to throw. Right after you throw that Molotov, what makes this so good is you can jump throw an HE into this little chip in the wall, and that's going to go straight down and absolutely destroy anyone standing right here planting. I mean, that is doing, let's take a look, right at 55 damage. That is a huge HE grenade coming in from right there. So if they're planting in this position, it's going to nuke them right off of the site. So now moving on over to Ancient, one of the most difficult mollies I've ever tried to learn was shared by Nart out here by one of his Discord users, I believe Rylop. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that, but he found an incredible Molotov from Temple to where you can molly off the plant spot on default from inside of here, which is crazy. You just go right here. In my experience in trying to throw this, again, I'm not that great at it, but you go to the bottom of this little diagonal line and you find this top right portion of this brick and you do a run jump throw, and that's going to pop all the way out here and it's going to land on top of default. The issue with that Molotov is it's very hard to throw. I mess it up still quite a bit. I've been practicing for maybe 5 minutes and I've got to where I can hit it. I would say 50-50 is generous, so I don't really want to waste my Molotov on myself inside of Temple. Also, it's very risky, right? If you're in this position, you need to make sure you have a teammate that's over here, making sure that a T is not about to absolutely slam dunk on you through Temple. So definitely keep that in mind. So in my opinion, an easier way to do that is to literally just come here and left click a molly just down towards the ground to where it hits right here, and it's going to spread pretty much every single time into all of the default plant area. And you may be thinking, oh, that's pretty exposed, right? But 9 times out of 10, this is going to be smoked off while they're planning. I mean, probably 10 times out of 10. And it's very easy to just guesstimate where to aim. But if you have trouble, you can just go right here at the bottom of this sign and just move your crosshair to the right into the gap and just left click, right? Simple as that. It's going to hit every single time and it's going to spread every single time. So that, in my opinion, is a much safer and more consistent way to molly off the plant spot. But hey, you know, if you like the style points and you want to impress your friends, definitely throw that. Just don't, you know, throw it into your own face. Now moving on over to Inferno, anytime the T's are planning here on the old CSGO default, you just go right here into this red mailbox and do a little crouch jump up onto the very edge of it. You don't want to go all the way to the corner, you just want to be barely on top of it. And what you're going to do is you're going to do a jump throw with a Molotov right here in this little angle in the pallet. And then right after that, you're going to go down from this lamp to this little black spot with an HE grenade and just left click. And as you can see, that molly is going to spread all the way up here into this position, and that nade is going to hit you right in the face for right at 55 to 60 damage. It is a huge heavy hitting grenade. As you can see here, that did right at 58 damage to me. A fantastic set to throw whenever you think they're planning right here. And a lot of times in higher levels, you're going to catch people planning in this slot right here, because whenever you play in here, you're able to survive from the bomb radius all the way in pit. So it's a great way to not have to go and survive all the way out here and risk getting killed by exits. So typically, whenever you hear them planning a little bit closer, if you're ready to throw the other one, you just drop down right into this position, and you can just aim right in the dead center of this middle support beam, maybe a little bit lower for good measure, and you can just left click a molly, left click and HE, and as you can see, you're gonna have that position mollied off and HE. So if they're planning here, the HE, it goes a little bit further out, but it does a decent amount of damage. They're probably gonna die in that Molotov because they have to run a very long distance out of it if they're planning. So it's a very successful one to throw as well. And now moving on over to Mirage, whenever you're stuck behind the CT ticket smoke, you can just go back into this corner and do a simple left click throw with the Molotov right on the left side of this hay. That molly is gonna hit right in the middle of the site, and it's gonna spread to get pretty much every single one of the common plant positions on site, even if they're planning on the front side here. It's an absolutely incredible Molotov to throw, and right after you throw that Molotov, you can pair it up with an HE grenade, take just a few steps with it, and that's going to absolutely obliterate this guy that's planning here and pretty much kill him every single time he starts to plant. So I definitely recommend throwing that anytime you're in a situation where you are stuck behind that CT smoke. So now let's talk about Nuke. I feel like there are three main positions you have to worry about as default plants. They're typically going to plant wherever they feel the safest, right? So if they're worried about getting pushed from mini, they're probably going to plant here exposed to heaven. So that's just kind of how it generally goes. So interestingly enough, if you're not smoked off up here in heaven, you can stand right in this position and you can actually molly off all three of these plant positions from one single molly. You just do a simple left click throw right here at this little black dot, and that is going to land right here, and it's going to spread to this position, and for some reason it also spreads to right here. I don't know how this works. Molotovs continue to confuse me every single time I throw them, but you're going to get all of the main plant positions with this one molly. Now, typically, if you're not smoked off here, a lot of times you're going to be peeking and trying to stop the plant that way, but if you don't know where they are, and if you think they have teammates holding you from different angles, it's really risky to do this peek, especially if you're waiting for your teammates to get into nice retake positions. So it's a really good one to throw to really delay the plant. It's an incredible one to throw. So now you may be wondering, well, what do you do whenever you're actually smoked off? So there's two types of smokes that can hit up here. One is if they throw it from outside here, it's usually going to land up towards the front to where you have a little bit of room to breathe up here in heaven. When that happens, you can almost guarantee they're probably going to be planting down here on this side of site because they're going to feel a little bit more safe with that being smoked off, especially if they have a teammate posted up to kind of watch that angle, right? So what I typically do is while this is smoked off, instead of lining up with something out here, I'm going to turn around, go into this corner, and I'm going to do a jump throw with a molly right off of this little black speck. That's going to pop all the way out here, and it's going to molly off the default plant position just like that, completely blocking it off. So the other more unfortunate scenario is whenever the T's have gotten an entry on site and they end up smoking off heaven something more like this, to where it ends up just going right up here and fully engulfing this room to where you can't line up with anything on the outside. So whenever you see something like that coming in, you have two options. One, you can just pre-line up your crosshair something like this towards the top right of this pillar here, and just do a nice little run throw with a molly, then a run throw with an HE, right? So that right there is going to absolutely obliterate this player down here. So as you can see, whenever they have thrown this smoke like this, as it's coming in, right? Whenever you see it coming, you can just go ahead, get in position and get it lined up, right? And then you can just kind of throw it blind by just doing this and then doing this, right? So a pretty simple set you can throw. Now, if you haven't got there in time to pre-line it up, another way you can do that is you can go right here into this corner and you can find this nice scratch in the door where it lines up with the door handle. And you can just go all the way in here and get in this back right corner, and you're lined up pretty much with the exact same lineup, where you can do exactly what you just did before. So that still works whenever you're smoked off. As you can see, I can go into here, I can get into this position, crouch, go right here, stand up, go into the back right corner, and then I can throw that exact same set as I threw before. Works out beautifully just like that. So now moving on over to Overpass, whenever the T's are planning here on default behind dice, you can go right here into this little railing, just line right up with it, and go up from the very top corner of the staircase all the way up to the dumpster and just do a simple left click with a molly and then a left click with an HE, and that is going to absolutely obliterate the player here behind default. I mean, that is going to kill him if he's in the middle of planning. It's a great one to throw. Now, the one issue is typically one of the main smokes that people are throwing whenever they're going to plant here is this smoke right here for dumpster, right? The smoke's going to go all the way up and it's going to fully smoke off this area. Now, the one issue is you don't really have that reference point to line up with. So when this happens, you're just going to go back from right here all the way into this chair, and you're going to do a jump throw right at the top of this railing. And that's going to go all the way up here, bank off the top. It's going to spread here all the way around and fully molly off the default position just like before. So now moving on over to Vertigo, this is one of the best plant denial sets that you can throw. Whenever they're planning here on default, you can just get tucked away into this corner, all the way back here in heaven, completely safe. And you can just go up from this little bar right here up to the top of the tarp. So just right in this position, you're going to do a Molotov, then an HE. And that is going to absolutely obliterate this player on site without any time really to react from this. If they're in the middle of planting, a lot of times I will get a full kill. This is a great set to throw. I highly recommend throwing it every single chance you get. And of course, finally, I'll go ahead and show Dust 2, just because most people like to complain whenever I leave it out. So I'm going to go ahead and show it here. Typically, the best and most effective post-plant Molotov, I know it's kind of a no-brainer, but whenever I'm in a position to deny the plant, generally it's because I'm coming up here on Cat after my long players have died, right? I'm behind them, and so maybe I'll jiggle Goose if I don't see anyone whenever they start to plant. I'm going to aim up towards the top of this palm tree and just do a run throw right here and have this thing land right here in the center of sight, and that's going to molly off literally the entirety of it unless they're planning for Cat, in which case it's going to be a really easy kill for you if you have Cat control. Now, I realize it's a super simple set. You can also bank a nade off of that, although it doesn't go very deep, so typically, you know, you're throwing that if you think they're going to be playing like over on this side, right? You can throw that exact same lineup for a nade, and it's going to hit, and it should go, you know, relatively deep. It's better than nothing, but, you know, I would still recommend maybe holding on to that. So anyways, guys, thanks again for making it all the way to the end. If you enjoyed this type of content, let me know down in the comments below, because I love making videos that you guys want to see. If you want to support me, go ahead and click the link down in the description for CLOUT Fantasy.